How it's supposed to feel.
Everyone has their own hobbies. For some, that's playing soccer or doing crosswords. But treasure hunting is what really gets other people going. Mike Smith is one of those guys. Like most amateurs, he'd found only a few coins and various other trinkets over the years, and none were particularly valuable. But all that was about to change when he spotted something that would lead to the discovery of a lifetime. Mike Smith has been metal detecting ever since he was just 12 years old after receiving his first metal detector as a gift from his dad on Christmas Day, 1977. He grew up in South Pembrokeshire in Wales and spent many days exploring the vast countryside in search of something truly special. As he reached adulthood, he realized that he probably wouldn't be able to make a steady living from his hobby. But his enthusiasm and love of the great outdoors continued to fuel his passion on as he secretly held on to the hope that someday he might still find something big. After years of searching with little payoffs, now 45-year-old Mike wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary when he decided to take his metal detector out for a spin on one rainy afternoon in February 2018. That day, the bad weather forced him to veer from his original course and into an area of unexplored farmland. While making his way across the moist turf, Mike heard the familiar beep of his metal detector and knew he must be onto something. Feeling the familiar sense of excitement building up inside him, he decided to make a few more wide circles around the area. As you probably know, metal detectors usually sound fainter the further away you get from a potential find. But as Mike moved away from the place where he heard the initial beep, something strange happened. He heard it beep again, but even louder this time. After checking that his metal detector was definitely in working order, Mike knew that there was only one way to find out if he was really receiving an accurate reading. He had to dig. Before we get our hands dirty as we dig deeper into this gripping story, why not put them to good use by smashing those like and subscribe buttons? Don't forget to show that little bell icon some love too. That way, you'll be the first to know when I upload more amazing content. Now let's get back to the unearthing. After choosing a spot where his metal detector was beeping the loudest, Mike grabbed his shovel and started digging through the damp soil. After just a few minutes of digging, he had already created a hole about a foot wide and 2 foot deep when he started to feel something small and metal inside. He carefully removed it from the hole and initially thought it might be a rusted old coin or some sort of medieval brooch. But after removing some of the dirt using his hands, he noticed that the object had a greenish hue and was decorated with some delicate and intriguing red engravings. While he pondered the object as he turned it over in his hands, he noticed something else gleaming in the dirt. Unlike the first metal piece, this object seemed to be a little more stuck. Being cautious not to damage his new find, Mike threw down the shovel, got down on his knees, and started to dig with his hands. Eventually, he realized that the object seemed to be a large metal link of some kind. Stranger still, it was connected to something else directly beneath, another identical link. In fact, as he dug deeper still, he realized that this bizarre discovery seemed to be a large rusted chain. But what was it connected to? As Mike cleared more of the surrounding earth, still no amount of pulling, prodding, or digging could dislodge the chain. Suddenly, he looked around and realized that the sun was already starting to set. So he packed up his tools and vowed to come back first thing the next morning. All night, thoughts raced through his mind. He had read about the ancient burial chambers hidden beneath Pembrokeshire soil and couldn't help but wonder whether he had stumbled across something sinister. At first light, Mike returned to find the site just as he'd left it. He began digging around the area where he had found the chain links, and it wasn't long until he unearthed a few more unique metal pieces, including something that looked like part of a large ring. Perhaps it had once been attached to the top of the chain? After cleaning the dirt from the object, Mike noticed that it bore similar markings to the first object he'd found. Being a history lover, he knew that the artifacts must be significant, so he decided it was time to tell someone about the discovery. So he got in touch with the Portable Antiquities Scheme in Wales, and the anonymous field was soon sealed off for a trial excavation with the help of proper tools and techniques. Trained archaeologists from the National Museum Wales and Dyfed Archaeological Trust were then enlisted to help Mike with a larger dig that June, 4 months after his initial find. With proceedings underway, it soon became clear that Mike had stumbled on the pieces of a much bigger puzzle. In fact, the team were soon able to unearth a haul of at least 9 artifact fragments during their exploration. The pieces varied greatly in shape and size, each with its own unique decorative markings and engravings. The rusted chain Mike had struggled to unearth was, in fact, a portion of something much larger. After being successfully removed, it seemed like they may have been severed from something. But could that something still be in the ground? The archaeologists had recovered an exciting treasure trove of artifacts. All they had to do now was find out what it all meant. By combining their expert knowledge while drawing comparisons to the shape and decoration of other artifacts across Britain, the archaeologists concluded that the objects were likely made around 25 to 75 AD during the Late Iron Age. That's over 2,000 years ago. As the name suggests, this period was particularly significant due to the introduction of iron-working technology, which would have been used to create these intriguing artifacts. Historians were also able to determine that a number of the pieces are also elaborately decorated with late Celtic art designs, also known as late Latian art. To make these markings, red glass would be made and allowed to cool into shaped recesses in the bronze surfaces to create distinctive and vibrant flowing designs, while enamel was used to give the pieces a greenish hue. According to the experts, this is the very first time that a group of artifacts with Celtic art decorations has ever been discovered in Pembrokeshire. But what are they? The collection are actually pieces of a Celtic chariot burial, as Mike had once suspected. The Celts were an early Indo-European people who spread over much of Europe from the 2nd millennium BCE to the 1st century BCE. Celtic chariots, which were used as war and ceremonial vehicles, were used to display the power and identity of their owners and tribal communities in Iron Age vehicles. The first object Mike had unearthed is actually part of the bridle harness, while the ring-like object is a large tarot ring or rain guide. This would have been attached to the harness, guiding the lines that run through the hands of the driver, through the turrets, and to the horse's bit to keep it from veering off track. Further discoveries also included parts of a large horse brooch, a harness fitting, and fragments of the bridle bit, which would have been connected to the chain links. These important pieces would once have been fixings to a complete chariot and the accompanying leather harness for its highly trained pony bear. These chariot pieces may even have been witness to some of the key historical events of the time, when Iron Age peoples defended their ways of life from the expansion of the Roman Empire, which came to include England and Wales from around 43 AD. Following the initial investigation in June 2018, a further dig, funded by National Museum Wales, was carried out in March and April 2019. During these excavations, the archaeologists' theories were confirmed when the tops of a pair of chariot wheels were revealed, proving that Mike's discovery was just the start of a Celtic treasure trove. These 2 iron tires would have covered the chariot's wooden wheels, representing the first evidence of the chariot itself. The chariot artifacts probably belonged to a man or woman of some standing within their tribe or community. This speculation was supported by the discovery of an iron sword nearby, which may have been placed on or near the human burial that would have accompanied the chariot. In fact, it was customary for high-ranking chiefs in the Iron Age to be laid to rest with their chariot, horses, tack, and weapons. For his hard work and intuition, Mike Smith can now expect a hefty reward for what he claims is the biggest ever metal detecting find. In fact, an inquest from Milford Haven, Mike's hometown, heard in January 2019 that the amateur metal detectorist could pocket a whopping sum of $1.3 million after the historic discovery was officially declared as treasure. According to law, the payment must be shared 50-50 with the landowner, while Mike is also required to sell the grand total of 34 artifacts to a museum. Of course, the National Museum Wales is first in line and hopes to purchase the finds so they can be properly conserved. For now, the exact location of the find is being kept a secret for a major dig in the future. Ground-penetrating radar has already revealed a pattern of buried ditches and walls on the farmland, suggesting that Mike may even have stumbled upon an entire Celtic settlement that had gone undiscovered for thousands of years. Of course, Mike will still have any claim in any future finds at the site, and he can hardly believe his childhood dreams came true in the most unexpected way. Now that's what I call a lucky find. Mike Smith's Celtic treasure trove might be one of a kind, but archaeological discoveries are made all over the world every year, and some are strange enough to make your jaw drop. From the weird and wonderful to the totally terrifying, let's check out some of the most truly bizarre archaeological discoveries. Rest in trees. In March 2017, a team of archaeologists in Switzerland made a harrowing discovery in the most unexpected of places. While renovating the Kern School complex in Alsersiel, a district in Zurich, they inadvertently disturbed the final resting place of an ancient corpse hidden in plain sight inside a tree trunk. The bizarre coffin had been fashioned out of a hollowed-out tree which still had bark on the outside. After the preserved remains were carefully removed from the site and sent for analysis, researchers concluded that it once belonged to an Iron Age Celtic woman who lived around 2,200 years ago. Though people often think the Celts hailed from the UK, they actually lived in continental Europe as far east as modern-day Turkey. But how did this woman end her days in such seemingly unfortunate circumstances? Surprisingly, it was actually a common practice for Iron Age Celts across Central and Northern Europe to bury members of their tribe in tree coffins. The deceased would be decorated with jewelry and gifts and then buried underground in the hollowed-out tree, not unlike a modern-day coffin. Isotope analysis of the woman's bones revealed that she was a local woman who was around 40 years old when she died, and probably grew up in Limmat Valley. She rarely performed physical labor, and instead spent her time indulging in a diet of starchy and sweetened foods. Sounds like luxury to me. She had been richly attired in sheep's wool, a sheepskin coat, and shawl, and was buried with accessories, including an amber and glass necklace, bronze bracelets, and a delicate bronze belt chain decorated with pendants. This suggests she probably commanded great respect in her tribe. The remains were also found about 260 feet from the grave of another Celtic man discovered in 1903 when the school's gym was being built. He had been similarly adorned and buried with a sword, shield, and lance. Because the two individuals were buried in the same decade around 200 BC, it's even possible that they knew each other. Does
Down